What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we have a really fun deck. This is a mid-range deck using a ton of enchantments and Zur Eternal Schemer. It is going to get super weird, and we're going to have a ton of fun. And before we get into the deck tech, though, I do want to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you to my patrons. Angry Jellyfish, L89, and Silent Labber, thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for supporting me. I appreciate it very, very much. You rock. And with that, let's get into the deck. Alright, so we are going full 5-color enchantment mid-range with Zur Eternal Schemer. Now, if you're not familiar with Zur, it is a 1/4 for 3 in Esper colors, white, blue, black, with flying. Enchantment creatures you control have Death Touch, Lifelink, and Hexproof. Amazing. That's just a ton of keywords. Let's just slap them all on every enchantment creature. Love it. But wait, there's more. 1 and a white. Target non-aura enchantment you control becomes a creature in addition to its other types, and it has base power and toughness each equal to its mana value. Now, if you have been messing around on the standard ladder at any point in the last couple of weeks, you have probably seen this card, or at least people experimenting with this card, alongside Leyline Binding. And that is because those two cards together slap. They're absolutely incredible. Because Leyline Binding has a cost reduction clause on it equal to domain, but its mana value is 6. So if you have all 5 land types down, you can cast Leyline Binding for as little as 1, but if Zur animates a Leyline Binding, it becomes a 6/6 lifelink, hexproof, death toucher. Holy cow. Like, needless to say, it's fantastic. You love to see it. And on top of that, Leyline Binding is a removal spell. It can remove any non-land permanent at instant speed. The decks that want this card want all of them. They are so good. And so naturally we have 4 in here. Speaking of big dumb removal enchantments that require clunky mana bases, we also have the Kami War in here. Now, I only put 3 in this particular list, although I did tuck 1 away in the sideboard. So if we're going for a longer, grindier match, then we can add a 4th just for good measure. But in general, this is also a crazy powerful... It's a crazy powerful removal spell that you get twice effectively with turn 1 just exiling target non-land permanent. Just get it gone. You get to chapter 2, return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and then each opponent discards a card. So you're forcing your opponent to discard, possibly discarding whatever permanent they just picked up, or you can actually return one of your own things to hand, like our Leyline Bindings, for example. If the thing that's under it isn't as threatening something else on the board, we can bounce a Leyline Binding, force them to discard a card, and then recast the Leyline Binding and suck up something else with it. Pretty good stuff. So Kami War is very useful in that regard. But then when we get to chapter 3, we get Okagachi Made Manifest, which is a finisher. So awesome. And on top of that, it's an enchantment creature. So if Zur is down, it has Death Touch, Hexproof, and Lifelink. And it already has flying and trample. So we're putting 5 bonkers keywords onto 1 creature, including Death Touch and Trample, which are a phenomenal combo. So needless to say, if we get to a point where we get a flipped Okagachi Made Manifest with a Zur on the battlefield, that is most likely game over. If you get to untap with that setup, there is very little your opponent can do. It's awesome. Usually they scoop before you get a chance to do that if they don't have an answer. But all the same, very powerful stuff. That is one way that we can ensure victory. Now, we were talking about Leyline Binding being particularly awesome and all the great stuff it can do. Well, we also have Prayer of Binding in here. We're doing all kinds of bindings. And that actually, maybe that sounded weird. In any event, Prayer of Binding is an enchantment for 3 and a white with flash. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent opponent controls until Prayer of Binding leaves the battlefield, and you gain 2 life. So this looks very similar to the Leyline Binding, except we have to pay 4 for it regardless, but we get the same effect, and we also gain a little bit of life for good measure. So very powerful stuff. It's kind of redundant with that, and again, you can use Zur to animate it, turn it into a 4/4. We're having a good time. We also have Spirit Sister's Call. Now this is a little bit of a cheeky include. Now, one thing it can do, obviously, Zur can animate it into a 5/5 with all those keywords. So that's good. Like that's valuable, for sure. However, the other thing it can do is it can reanimate our enchantments. And so if a Kami War or a Leyline Binding end up in our graveyard through a number of different ways, there's a lot of discard effects going out there right now. So picture this, your opponent plays a Liliana of the Veil. We discard a Kami War, we Leyline Binding it, then we play out a Spirit Sister's Call. On our end step, sacrifice Spirit Sister's Call, get Kami War online. Boom, we're doing the thing. Feels good. That's just one example. I was going a little fast there. In any event, Spirit Sister's Call allows us to reanimate our enchantments because if nothing else, you can sacrifice the Spirit Sister's Call to itself to go grab an enchantment. So that's not bad. You can do, like, that can actually win you the game right there. And it happens on the end step, so that's meaningful as well. All right. It's pretty good. This is actually a pretty good one, especially in longer, grindier games. If our graveyard ends up with stuff in it, Spirit Sister's Call is going to be really nice. And in games where things are getting, you know, where the beatdown is occurring earlier, and you're not necessarily in a position to set up late game value engines, then we can chuck it to a couple things, most notably the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This is a card that is awesome. If you're running enchantments and red is in the mix, get this card in your deck. We all know it. We all love it. It does great work. In Chapter 2, we can easily chuck whatever we don't need and go grab what we do. So, pretty good stuff. You'll love to see it. On top of that, Xur can actually animate the Fable of the Mirror Breaker when it is on Chapter 1 or 2. So, on Chapter 1, it would be subject to summoning sickness, but you'd still be able to block with it, which could be really useful. And then on Chapter 2, you could actually be attacking with this before it flips, which is kind of fun. In any event, that's one use for it. So, good stuff there. We also have Jukai Naturalist and Weaver of Harmony. These are two very powerful cards that help do some stuff for us. They're both enchantment creatures for starters, so if Xur is online, they both have Death Touch and Lifelink, which might be enough to, you know, to warrant an include, frankly. But Weaver of Harmony also buffs all our other enchantment creatures by giving them +1/+1, and we have the ability to copy activated or triggered abilities from enchantment sources. So if we throw a Kami War or a Leyline Binding or a Prayer of Binding, we can then double up on it. Also, if we have a Spirit Sister's Call down, we can double up on that if there are multiple things out of our graveyard that we want to go grab. Granted, if we do that, I believe we do have to sacrifice multiple things, but still, that might be worth it in certain circumstances. So be aware of that. This card gives you a ton of options and a ton of play. It also allows us to double up on our Meathook Massacres. So if you pump 2 mana into Meathook Massacre and you still have 1 left over, you can copy it and it gives all creatures -4/-4. Keep that in mind. Well, it gives -2/-2 twice is how it actually ends up being. So that actually you can get around some fun math. So that keep that in mind as well. Again, tons of play with Weaver of Harmony. Jukai Naturalist just makes our enchantment spells cost less. It also has lifelink, so it's a 2/2 lifelinker. It becomes a 3/3 lifelinker the moment a Weaver of Harmony is online. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's just a solid creature. Also, what's kind of fun, it pulls removal. If your opponent burns a cut down on a Jukai Naturalist, that is one cut down that is not going to hit your Xur, because that is the one problem with Xur. It is a 1/4. As a result, it is vulnerable to a lot of removal that is out there, including cut down. So be aware of that. The 4 toughness means that it's not likely to die in combat, and your opponent's gonna have to really mean it if they want to hit it with a Meathook or something of that nature, or burn spells actually have a tough time taking it out too. However, cut down, it's everywhere right now. Cut down and Infernal Grasp are all over the place, and they absolutely work on Xur, which is a little unfortunate. But as a result, if Jukai Naturalist pulls some of that removal, all right, it's probably gonna be for the best. So nothing wrong with that. All right, we also have Negate. I briefly mentioned Meathook Massacre. It's a board wipe, it's an enchantment, it gives us all the things we want. And we have 2 in the main, we also have 2 in the side, because they're fantastic. We also have Negate in here. There are a ton of non-creature spells running around the format. We have Negate and Spell Pierce, both of which serve very similar functions. At the end of the day, this is going to try to hit Planeswalkers and Invoke Despair. Those are the main targets that we want to hit with this. That said, if your opponent's trying to get some good value by getting their own Fable of the Mirror Breaker or Wedding Announcement down on turn 3, you can say no. Also, Reckoner Bankbuster. If you can hit a Reckoner Bankbuster on turn 2 with a Spell Pierce, oh, it feels so good. So don't be afraid to rip those, because those are cards that don't represent a big threat when they first come down, but they will draw your opponent 2 to 3 cards throughout the course of the game and give them additional value. So you definitely want to get rid of them. And Spell Pierce and Negate give you those opportunities. That said, if you're going up against the black deck, and we all do, it's just part of the deal right now, Negate and Spell Pierce are both very, very important, and especially when you get to around turn 5. If it looks like the Invoke Despair might come down, hold some mana up. Because if your opponent taps out on 5 and you can hit it with a Spell Pierce, it feels great. Trust me, it's beautiful. That's why they're in here. Also, if you find yourself going up against the mono black deck or another spell heavy deck, like the mono blue decks that are running around out there too, There are 2 negates and 2 more spell pierces in the side. You can very easily slot those in place of the Meathook Massacres if those aren't particularly good in your matchup. Or even the prayer of bindings could very easily come out in favor of more counters, depending on what your opponent is presenting. So be aware of that, but they're in here too. Also, as far as our sideboard is concerned, we also have 2 farewells. Believe it or not, the farewell is actually in here specifically for the mirror match. And I don't see mirror matches super often, however, and they usually don't have this exact list by any means, but enchantment-based Zur value decks are a thing. They are out there. Sometimes they're just Esper, sometimes they're 4-color, and sometimes you get 5-color nonsense like we're running here. They are out there. They're a thing. And farewell is actually very, very nice when your opponent has used a Leyline Bindings and or Prayer of Bindings to tuck away your things, or Brutal Cathars for that matter. Those are cards that you see in that style of deck. Farewell helps get rid of all of that, and then you get your stuff back because they tucked it away for later for you. So that's very handy. And frankly, the reason that that's in there is because I took a version of this deck out onto the ladder, and I went up against a mirror match, and they dropped Farewell on me and completely devastated me. And I was like, okay, I need that at least on my sideboard. Yeah, and at the very least, it's a reset button. Now, if you do have a bunch of stuff tucked away under artifact or tucked under enchantments, and your opponent has some artifacts and some creatures, you can just pick those modes, or you can eat their graveyard. You know, Farewell is just, it's great. I don't know what else to say. The card's phenomenal. We also have Hallowed Haunting in the sideboard. This may seem like an odd selection. Like, why in the world? Like, Hallowed Haunting seems like a build around main deck card. I have it in the sideboard, much the same reason that I have that 4th Kami War in the sideboard. It is specifically here for the longer, grindier games. If your opponent is trying to attrition you out, if they are trying to get 1-for-1 responses with counter spells and with kill spells, Hallowed Haunting is awesome because it puts the bodies on the board that your opponent has to deal with. And if they have a way to deal with those, there's a very high likelihood they don't have a way to deal with the Hallowed Haunting itself. And if they do, we have all the other threats that this deck is trying to bust out that all of a sudden can go into the mix. And Hallowed Haunting just provides a must-kill target for them to answer with. And if they don't, we have enough enchantments to get this thing triggering left, right, and center, and it's going to go off like crazy. So that is why we have Hallowed Haunting in the sideboard. Yeah, that's the idea there. We also have temporary lockdown. This card is awesome. If you are using temporary lockdown, be aware this will hit your own Meathook Massacres, Jukai Naturalists, Weaver of Harmonies, and the token that you're creating off Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That does not mean don't put it in the deck, and it doesn't mean automatically slide those out in place of temporary lockdown. Just be aware that those are going to be swept up in this. But if your opponent is playing like the Rakdos sacrifice decks with the Anvil, they're producing a ton of blood tokens and a ton of treasure tokens. And they have like Valdaran Epicures, Bloodtithe Harvesters, those kinds of early threats, Tenacious Underdog. They're using a lot of those cheap early threats. Temporary Lockdown scoops all of those up at once. And it puts an enchantment on the board that Zur can reanimate later. Animate later. Yeah, it's great. Temporary Lockdown is a shockingly effective sideboard card, and that's why there are 3 of them in here. If we're going up against any kind of go-wide situation or any kind of token strategy, get those in the deck immediately. It's awesome. All right, so that is the deck. This is Zur midrange in standard, all 5 colors. We got Zur, we got Kami War, and all kinds of other nonsense. This also gives us an excuse to run Spirit Sister's Call, which I really enjoy. This is a really fun card that I like a lot, that doesn't really see a lot of love. But I think this kind of shell can make it work. So let's hop out into some ladder play. I'm going to be playing best of 1 for the purposes of this video, but as you can see, it is equipped for best of 3 matches. Whatever you prefer, I got you. So with that, let's head out onto the ladder and see what we can do. All right, Fable of the Mirror Breaker and Spirit Sister's Call is interesting. Having the Prayer of Binding early is not bad either. We don't have Zur, we don't have Leyline Binding. This is actually a very slow hand for us. But we're gonna lead off with Jet's Garden and see what we can do. Now that gives us the red we need for the Fable, so we're good there. Here comes the Valdaran Epicure, okay. All right, we actually don't have a turn 2 play anyway, so we might as well drop the other Triome. And just like that, we actually have Domain, all 5. Boom! Triomes are awesome for that. So, Leyline Binding off the rip means we just get good stuff. All right, so our opponent on the Rakdos sack plan, which is fine. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this into Fable. Now, if they attack with the Harvester, I am gladly going to make that trade. As nice as as nice as the treasure tokens are, I am not too worried about hitting a 5-drop on time. I'm much more worried about getting that 3-2 off the field. Prayer Binding also has flash, so we can just pass to the next, we can just pass on to the next turn and just hold it up, which feels pretty good. Lack of hesitation on our part might be giving our opponent some ideas. Looks like they're debating on whether or not to sack the Harvester for value. I don't think they expected us to block, because that goblin does not always block. In fact, it usually wants to attack. So most of the time, it just sits back, relaxes, and enjoys. But nope, not today. I'm not giving you 3 free damage. All right. And this is that moment when I check my internet connection, make sure we're good. Yeah, everything looks fine. Because we have the pause. Either they're thinking dramatically or their internet connection might have a problem. That's also possible. I just gotta click on the water. I don't know why. I am just in... I can't help it. I must click on... If there is water on the map, I have to click on it. Just the little splashes are so satisfying. It's like popping bubble wrap. I dig it. Absolutely dig it. Okay. Maybe they didn't realize they were holding priority. The rope usually is a good symbol there. And I can just see how much time I can fill as we wait for our opponent to make a decision. They might have a voltage surge, and they're wondering about whether or not to burn the voltage surge or let the Harvester trade. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the holdup. I also wouldn't be surprised if they just DC and we get a free win here in a second. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so it ended up passing priority. We don't need an extra Zur. Spirit Sister's Call is interesting. Had that Zur been a Kami War, I would have very easily discarded Kami War and held Spirit Sister's Call. As it stands, I think I'm going to dump Spirit Sister's Call. Again, if we get an opportunity to progress. It looks like our opponent may have DC'd. Or just Rage Scooped. That's possible. These things happen. Although, Rage Scooping just because we blocked a Harvester seems a little silly, but I've been known to make silly decisions as well, so c'est la vie. Alright, I'm gonna let one Zur and the Spirit Sisters go. Let's see what we draw into. Another Spirit Sisters. Aight. Alright, I'm gonna throw that. We have the Prayer Binding up again if we get a chance to actually play the game. And frankly, the Voldaren Epicure is not worth hitting with the Prayer Binding. At that point, it would just be to put a 4 mana cost. Sorry, 4 mana value. A 4 mana value enchantment online that Zur could animate and gain us 2 life, which is not nothing, to be fair. But again, I'm pretty sure this game is over. Our opponent has just timed out past a number of times, so. Tis what it is. I do find these kind of games a little frustrating, but I'm going to keep talking, because who knows? They might come back. I know, when I personally, when I sit down to play Magic, I like to actually play Magic. I know it's a crazy thought, right? I know it's very, it's a weird thing. So the whole idea of just like playing, and if it doesn't look like you're going to win, you just scoop. I don't understand that. I just don't get it. But this timeout crap, like, that's frustrating. Anyway, let's move on to the next game. Hopefully we actually get to play this one. All right. Jetmir's Garden on 1, followed by Forest on 2 gives us the Jukai Naturalist. The double Spirit Sister's Call in the opening hand is a little clunky. I don't love that, but I think we'll be okay. Wait a minute. Spar's HQ gives us access to blue. We already have green and white. Yeah, okay, here comes the Jukai Naturalist. They have a Cave of Koilos down. Alright, Oppo's on Orzhov. Also, we're going up against MTG. We are fighting against the very concept of Magic the Gathering. Either that or Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not sure which. I want to believe it's Magic. Alright, Spar's HQ coming down is pretty tasty. I like that. Let me go ahead and bind that Underdog because I don't want to give you an opportunity to put it in your graveyard, especially not trading for my Naturalist. No, we're not going to do that. All right. Here comes Liliana. Show me Liliana. Oh, Graveyard Trespasser, the other one I should have guessed. Okay, fair enough. All right. Here comes the Fable. So now it is, in fact, daytime. If they do choose to attack the Graveyard Trespasser, there are no pings to be had. And it does give us an opportunity to double block, so they choose not to. Makes good sense. I wouldn't have there either. All right, I'm going to dump a Spirit Sisters, and... Actually, how are we doing on Domain? We still don't have black. Xeotor's Proving Ground gives us that. So I'm going to dump the Mountain. Let's see what happens. All right. that might as well happen. Sure. All right, well... We now have all the Manyas. No attacks. It's not nighttime, which is unfortunate, but we still have 4 power back to block. So if they do attack with the Glutton, we can double block it. Not amazing, not ideal. It'll be fine. We can hold, we can hold that up and do it. So, and we dug a little bit deeper into our deck, which is always good. So, that wasn't a great draw off those double discards, but what's gonna do? Rite of Oblivion on the Fable. Fair enough. That the Fable can be a very real threat. So I can't blame them for that. Spirit Sister's Call out of the graveyard doesn't really give us anything. Let's go ahead and Siggity Cycle that. Just hit nothing but lands. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan, dog. Let's do it. All right, cool. All right. Also noticing the Graveyard Glutton doesn't seem to have the little grid, like pie lattice that you see over top of ward cards. I don't know what's up with that. Phyrexian Missionary, good card. Like that's fine. I can't begrudge them for running it. Negate is decent, but it doesn't really give us what we need right now. Might as well throw the land. The only benefit that the land was giving us was it was something we could chuck to the Graveyard Glutton's ability. So that's a thing. At the stance, I think we just hold up. We just keep our blockers back, hold up Leyline and Negate, right? Let's see, who do they commit here? I'm assuming the Glutton's coming in, at the very least. Huh, just a couple of those little homies. Interesting, interesting, okay. Huh. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Blickety block, blickety block. Double blocks prior to damage. I'm going to eat the wedding announcement. Doink. So they're both gone. My board is fine. Huzzah! And we have a negate if they want to throw another one. They apparently don't, and I can't blame them. Let's go. Alright. As much as I want to get the Spirit Sisters Call going, our graveyard is just not looking good. And I certainly don't want to be sacrificing these bindings to go dig in there. Okay. Oppo, what you got? Shelly! Alright, Shelter the Apocalypse. That is a card right there, everybody. That is a frickin' card. I'm gonna go ahead and get her out of here on instep. Nom 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 nom. This is the point where our opponent's going 3 Leyline Bindings. Are you for real? And yes, I am for real. Mother flippin' sir. Now, do we want to just rip Zur? You know what? I think I do. I'm gonna do this first, though. Gonna attack, create the treasure. This way. Alright. Believe it or not, that's fine. This way we rip Zur. We now are holding up the negate. We have a death-touching Jukai Naturalist. And we can reanimate. We can animate any of the Leyline Bindings at our convenience. That's nice. I like that. All right. So if they have a kill spell for Xur, we just negate it. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this situation, actually. And if they have a Liliana or something of that nature, we can sacrifice the Naturalist and keep Xur around. Which is fine by me. Oblivion. Yeah, okay, thank you for sacrificing that, homie. However, no. Love the little wah 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 sound effect. It's beautiful. Makes me very happy. Alright, another Naturalist is just good times, right? Boom. Followed by a ba-boom. Alright, homie, you gotta block something. They've all got Death Touch. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Xur, baby! We're doing the thing. Feels good. And our opponent only has 4 mana, so even if they have 5 mana now, but even if they have a Meathook Massacre, they still can't kill Xur. Depopulate. Good lord, who saw that coming? I sure didn't. Depop is not a card I expect ever, if I'm honest. So, good work, opponent. Good work. Weaver of Harmony. Spear Sister's Call doing its thing. We are going to go to the end step. I am going to grab up. Let's see. We can just grab Xur. And then we'll be able to animate the Leyline Binding. Or we can grab another Leyline Binding. And I mean, either way, we sacrifice the Weaver. Which isn't great, to be honest. Actually, we can... We just grab the Leyline Binding and sacrifice Spirit Sisters. These are all intriguing opportunities. Who am I kidding? Let's get Xur going. All right, opponent. If you have more removal, you're gonna need to do it again. I wasn't super jazzed about how that turned out. Obviously the Depop hit us pretty hard, and we had tucked away some of their permanents, so they were able to get their Underdog and their Wedding Announcement back, which are very problematic. We are still at 38 life though. That feels pretty good. Feels real good. Sheldred, sure. Yeah, Shelly is fairly decent. I'm gonna go. This is so they can draw some cards, which is draw a card. They're gonna gain some life here, which is fair. Like I'm not loving it, but is what it is. What are you gonna do? All right. Lewy there. Ah, our opponent scoops it up. All right. Yeah. So that turn, we didn't have the win that turn, but we could have shut down Sheldred on the end step with Spirit Sister's Call. So we shut down Sheldred. We have a life-linking Death Toucher online. Yeah, we could Leyline Binding, animate the Leyline Binding attack. Sheldred, well, but then they'd get another Sheldred back. I wouldn't have done that. Oh, actually, wait a minute. Never mind. We did have him dead that turn. We Xur animate both the Leyline Binding and the Spirit Sister's Call. We attack with both. And then also Xur. So they block the Leyline Binding. They take 5 damage from the Spirit Sister's Call, 1 to the face. Yeah, we got him. Okay, so I didn't even see the lethal, but we had it. So anyway, that was good stuff. Let's move on to the next game, see if we can do that again. Negate has me intrigued. The double Kami War is hella greedy. Like, this is the greediest greed that ever greeted. So we need to be able to hit the Negate early, and then hit Prayer of Binding on time, probably, to disrupt our opponent long enough to hope that we get up to the Kami War. We're also missing black in this mana base, so that's important to note. But I'm intrigued. I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna try it. We are very dependent on drawing into a couple of key pieces, most notably black mana, well, and a lot of mana, frankly. So we need to hit black mana, and like a Jukai Naturalist would also be really nice here. See what happens. All right, Oppo appears to be debating on whether or not to keep, which is fair. I understand the difficulties of debating on the starting 7. And actually, the more I look at that, the more I look at these cards, the more I realize I should be debating on this. That green screen's acting weird. Sorry about that, everybody. Let me see. I might need to adjust my curtains a little bit. That you can now see. There it is. Yeah, a little bit. I have a window right next to my right next to my desk, and yeah, the sunlight was splashing on the green screen, causing all kinds of issues. Sorry about that. All right, and as you can see, my curtains are the fanciest in, like, you know, 1970s chic. I'm a big fan. All right. I'm gonna keep him on the, yeah, okay. Trying to get him, you know what? No, there's just gonna be a curtain there for a minute. All right, cool. You're just gonna have a sliver of curtain there for your enjoyment. All right. All right. Looks like we have another connection issue. Is what it looks like to me, or they queued up and walked away for some reason. Don't do that, by the way. It's not a good look. I also have a theory. I have a theory that in the best of one ranked queue, sometimes people will queue up and walk away in the hopes that their opponent will just quit because they want to play the game. So hopefully they're trying to frustrate their opponent into wins. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I think that might be a thing. And if you're thinking, okay, could you put more of a tinfoil hat on? Yes, I can. It doesn't really matter what we lead with here, I don't think. So I'm going to lead with Jet's Garden. And we're going to follow it up with the Island. Bankbuster. Dang it! I wish I had a counter up for that. All right. But alas, we do not. All right, but I'm going to keep a counter up in case of Liliana. That is what I'm concerned about here. The other option was to throw the Weaver of Harmony last turn in the hopes of being able to double up the Prayer Binding if they get multiple permanents down. Which is intriguing. Cool idea. Shakedown Heavy. They're running Fight Rigging. They have green in the mana base. They have Shakedown Heavy. There's no way they're not running Fight Rigging. If there's no Fight Rigging here, I will eat my hat. And I don't even own a hat. Actually, I own plenty of hats. I don't know what I'm talking about. I made this Negate bet. I'm going to lay in it. Not happy about it, but here we are. Yeah. I can't afford to take that much damage. We're going to lose. Yeah, we're going to lose the card draw race, but that's okay. I'm going to keep telling myself, oh, they didn't hit their land? They drew all those cards and they still missed their land? Ouch, that sucks. All right, I'm gonna throw out the Weaver and I'm gonna keep Negate back. Because then next turn, if we stick a Prayer Binding, God down, don't touch my stuff, man. Stop touching my stuff. All right, well, Prayer Binding, I'm counting on you next turn. Weaver of Harmony, you better freaking survive. Dang it! Yeah, I deserve that. Enjoy your cards. I'll just take my damage. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. Alright. Well, I'm back. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this, because we need to get up to 5 mana. We should have what it takes for Kami War next turn, but we got Prayer Binding up now. So let's see what happens, shall we? Another heavy, okay. Whoa, man, that's heavy. Alright. Ah, Bankbuster coming in. Alright, sure. Now, who do we want to take out here? Do we want to take out heavy or do we want to take out... You know, they're both representing card draw and damage. Let's go after the Buster. This time, come on in, welcome to my face. I can take the 6. Not unlike a champ, and we're going to be just fine. Naturalist is nice, I like that. But Kami War's better, I like that more. Alright, here we are. Kami War, hitting the field. Eating a heavy. Nom. Because sometimes you just gotta eat heavy things, am I right? Maybe that explains my current weight situation. Terra Sonder, great card. Highly underrated. Highly underrated. Lils, okay. I'm not jazzed about either of those, but I can dump the Jukai Naturalist. That's fine. Ching. You know what? Okay, now I'm not. Now I'm back to not wanting to take damage. Just like that. It's crazy how that works, right? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and we do keep a white up still. Good, good, good. Prayer Binding hitting Lils.
Whatever. Luck favors the foolish after all.
All right. And I see Shelly. That's a great card. Great card, as a matter of fact. Come on in. Resolve. I'm gonna decline. And then I'm a bind. And then we have Kami War next turn to deal with Sheoldred. Get her the heck out of here. Because our opponent's in Jund, they're not running counter spells, so we're gonna get that first chapter, even if they have another Terra Sunder or the like, to get rid of Kami War itself. Now, the finisher that we are looking for is Zur. We have not seen Zur yet. Invoke Despair, frustrating for sure. Which do we want to get back? You can have your heavy back. I can work around the shakedown heavy. It's not great, but I can work around it, so whatever. All right. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. They have to discard a card. They have all the cards in the world, so that's not really an issue for them. Fable. Unfortunately, the Terra Sunder from earlier, exiled our other Kami War. Otherwise, I would throw Spirit Sisters to bring it back. That would be tasty. However, we can't quite do it. Zur! Yes! Yes! He's here, everybody. Let's go! All right. Oh, happy day. Kalukale, he chortled in his joy. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let... Ooh. I'm gonna let Spirit Sisters Call go. I'm drawn to a land that we don't need. All right, cool. Sorry, it's not Joyous Day, it's Frabjous Day. That he chortled in his joy. All right. Pardon me, everybody. Gotta get that right. Sorry for misquoting Lewis Carroll over here. Yeah, they're gonna march over to Sorrow Okagachi. They're gonna go down on cards to do so, but they have to. If they don't get rid of it right now, it's gonna get hexproof. So that's fair. It's a little frustrating, but it's fair. I mean, naturally, I would much rather they not have done that. But what can I do? All right. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and Siggity cycle this, and let's see if we. 4 blockers. Never didn't have it. Leyline Binding off the top. You'll love to see it. So the Leyline Binding eats the Shakedown Heavy, and that puts a 6 power enchantment cracking back next turn. All feels good. Let's go. All right, Oppo. If you got some stuff, you might want to start using it, because you're about to get smacked. I might be overextending into some form of board wipe here, but it's gonna happen on next turn. I'm gonna be dealing a ton of damage in the meantime. March Red Cesar. Okay, sure. I'm animating all of them. I'm going for max damage. Let's go. That all would have been lifelink had Zur stuck around, which would have been nice, but alas, here we are. And another Leyline Binding, if I may say. Holy crap! All right, think this will do it. Yeah, got him. All right. That was a grinding match, but we came out on top. Feels good. Feels good. All right. Let's do one more. This is a stupid greedy keep. We're on the draw. Meathook Massacre is basically a dead card in our hand. Kami War is effectively a dead card in our hand this early. Yeah, no, as much as I want to throw Sparse Headquarters down on 1, Forest on 2, Jukai Naturalist, and have Spell Pierce up relatively early, I think we need to mull that. This looks a lot better. We're gonna go ahead and keep this. I'm gonna let one... I'm gonna let one Weaver go. And we're gonna lead off with either Xander's Lounge or Jetmir's, or sorry, Rafine's. Let's lead off with the Rafine's Tower. That way we have Spell Pierce up right away. Xander's Lounge would have given that to us as well. I think we need to follow up with Jetmir's Garden, and then we're gonna have all 5 colors represented. Man, Triomes are awesome. I freaking love these cards. Boom, just like that. The Pierce is up. Boom, baby. Feels good. Karn Silex? I don't know what you're about to do with that opponent, but I don't want to let you. I'm going to have permanents later. I don't want to give you the opportunity to exile those. Under no circumstances is that okay. So the Naturalist. Another Rafine's Tower because we can. Naturalist crashing in, going for 3. Wandering Imp. Making her presence known. Fair enough. That's definitely a thing I'm going to use some removal on later. And that's okay. That's what Planeswalkers are for, right? To use your removal on them?
Keep watch for intruders.
Okay. Untapped land here would be nice. Not to be. Okay. Triomes! More Triomes. I love my Triomes. We are not going to attack because they may have another Emperor. So we have the ability to cycle Xander's Lounge or throw the Prayer of Binding. And throwing the Prayer of Binding to eat a token is not bad. Like, that's fine. If that's what it comes to. That also gives us an enchantment on the board we can sacrifice to Spirit Sister's Call if we get it later, so... That's not bad. The other option is to cycle Xander's Lounge. Actually, you know what? I don't love that. I don't love cycling Xander's Lounge here because there's no guarantee we're going to get the mana that we need for Kami War if we do that. Ami nom 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 nom. It's not impressive, but it does the thing. All right. Azur. And we have Spar's Headquarters, which can produce white, so the Prayer of Binding can all of a sudden become a 4/4 that has been on the field. So that's nice. Ooh, they have an Impulse. They're digging for something. All right. Looking for a counter spell, like an Essence Scatter is my guess. Even a bounce spell would actually knock me off tempo pretty well. Syncopate, that'll do. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Fair enough. Doink. All right. It's all good. The one card we have in hand is a Kami War. So in general, Azorius Control is not a wonderful matchup for us. It's not. There's no way around it. It just is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and try to crack in. I mean, we got the beats at this point. Imp, sure. Ooh. Going for the Vigilante because they don't know their Emperor is about to get exiled. All right, opponent, do you have the counterspell? That is the question. Urtai Scorn. Yeah, dang it. I need to keep my mouth shut. I need to keep my big mouth shut. Doggone it. Yeah, so Azorius Control is actually not a great matchup for this deck because we're dropping, like, 4 and 5 drop threats. So unless we have counterspells to protect our threats on the way down to the board, like, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for this style of deck to outvalue us in the late game. And here we are. Negating the Memory Deluge, I'm happy about that. It gives them phenomenal card selection, and they draw 2 cards. I can't let that happen. To be honest, I wish I could counter that one too. Yep. Yeah, they've got all the mana in the world. They are set up not unlike frickin' champs here. So the chances of us coming back at this point are not high. We're gonna try. We're gonna hold out. We're gonna do what we can, but it's not looking too fantastic. Gonna try to eat that token. It sticks. Okay. This is an easy cycle all day. What do we got? Show me something good. That's not anything good. I'm gonna hold it just to pretend like we have something, but That's a big old load of nothing. They've got deluges coming. They cut off all of our value in the early game. They're going to turn the corner and run away with this. This is Azorius Control doing exactly what Azorius Control needs to do. And I got to give it up to our opponent. Good work playing a deck that is not very high in the meta right now, despite potentially preying on the meta decks in a very strong way. Like, I'm kind of surprised you don't see it more often, come to think of it. Natural sticks, because we got to do something. Frankly, that's all it's really here to do. Poop down to the samurai. Sure. More deluges. Good lord. Memory Deluge is an amazing card, and our opponent is taking phenomenal effect of it. And we're drawing nothing but lands, which is not helpful. So when we need, so our opponent is outdrawing us like 4-1, and well, honestly, like 2-1. Like actually no, but I think 3-1 at this point. Anyway, a lot. They're outdrawing us by a lot. So they're outdrawing us by a lot, and the cards that we are drawing have been nothing but lands in the last 2 turns. So that's that, I guess. Not to mention they have just the card selection in that deck is shocking between Impulse and Memory Deluge. Puffin, good work, good work. All right, I'm not 100% sure what can get us out of this, but we're gonna try, doggone it. Crashing in, cause we can. And there's no way, given the fact that they have seen half of their deck, there's absolutely no way that they do not have at least 1, if not 2 counterspells in that hand right now. Like, this is not going to resolve. I will be absolutely shocked. Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah. Man, all right. So our deck usually ends up playing the control game, but our opponent was like, nah, not against me, homie. And that's fair. That's fair. They're playing the control game. They're playing it very well. They just Memory Deluge on their main phase and they still have 6 mana up. That is dumb. And no, 7 mana up. Excuse me. I'm gonna do this just because I can. And they're even gonna counter that. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Not the way I wanted to. This was not the note I wanted to end on, but y'all got to see what this deck can do. So I'm proud of it. We got to show it off. This was super duper fun. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I appreciate you. And yeah, if you enjoy this, I do stream on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/hambox42. Please hit that like and the subscribe button. They make a huge difference. And until next time, have a phenomenal day. I'll catch you on the next one.